So live on a First Friday Miracle edition of the program, Merely Bo, the Great Z, Gibbe, undisclosed location. Quite frankly, even if we disclosed it, I'm not sure you could find it through the smoke today.
Not today.
Oh.
Which one do you have?
Oh no. The Poisal.
Oh, baby.
So
the
you
Poisal.
don't just throw the headset.
Well, but he was so frustrated that his voice wasn't heard. Disgust.
Yeah.
That his voice was not heard off the top of this program.
I came here.
Fine.
I braved burning eyes, burning lungs.
That's all happening.
For real.
That isn't, not tongue in cheek. That's all real.
It is real. It's crazy out. It is a sign of the apocalypse. We got planes landing in Charlotte without landing gear. Did you see that? I sent that to you.
Really?
The flight from.
I missed that.
I sent that to you. That's why I said nightmare fuel. I sent that tweet to you. It was.
Oh, I didn't get it.
1,600 flights.
You
were
got it.
canceled.
No, I didn't.
Me, you,
oh,
and
yeah.
Gibbe.
I saw it.
Yeah, Gibbe saw it. Me, you, and Gibbe.
I saw the thing about all the flights that were grounded already.
Well, anyway, there was a flight from.
I didn't even know there was severe weather.
Atlanta to Charlotte.
Look at where? When did you send it?
That's so weird. Go. No. It's later. It was the last thing I sent.
Okay. Last thing that we discussed was doing this show out of Munich.
No.
On the group chat. That's the last thing I have.
What's going on with It's got to be.
See, look. Also,
his green is somehow thwarting you.
I have a
everything.
bug now on my text chain that bumps me anytime someone sends me a text message. This is at 11:13 a.m.
No.
Yeah, 11:13 a.m. You don't have. He doesn't have it. Yeah, look.
So
Delta plane lands safely at Charlotte despite not having its front landing gear. Pilot
Read
did a
the
great
last
job.
part of it.
Flight delays grow.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, because now that shut down a runway there because they've got to figure out how to hoist the front of the plane up so they can wheel
That'd be
it out
fun to sit
somewhere.
on that. You'd be thrilled because you survived it.
No, they got them right off. They came right off.
Oh, they came right off before they did it. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine that? Just your pilot here. We're not going to have landing gear today, so it's going to be a bit of a rough landing here in
Fortunately,
Charlotte.
it was only the nose gear. So they had the back. So apparently he brought it in on the back real good and then
What an icon.
slowly put the nose down. They said it was totally smooth.
That's incredible of him.
Legend. Good work.
What an icon.
101 people on board, 96 passengers, 5
I bet he was a
crew.
naval aviator at one point.
The elite.
Don't you think?
The best
of
of
the
the
best.
We'll make you better.
That's right. I was very wonderful to read this morning in the Washington Post that there were 1,900 flights grounded yesterday. 18% of United's flights were canceled yesterday.
Yeah, and they canceled my buddy's flight was canceled. My former producer at CBS, I followed his journey on Instagram. They kept telling him it was on time or, okay, now it's on time, it's on time. No, it's just going to be delayed a little bit, just going to be delayed a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
And he's like, do better. You're telling me his flight's on time. That was 2 hours ago.
Yeah, right.
It's obviously not on time.
Correct.
And ended up having to take a train. He got an Amtrak ticket and took a train from Newark or from Penn Station, went back into New York from Penn Station down to D.C. where he was going.
Yeah, I think that whole area is a disaster, which I experienced firsthand last week.
Rafa, our
my
good
Rafa,
friend.
yeah,
Did you
Rafa,
see
I
his?
saw him.
Oh,
yeah.
my God.
Hey, find your bag.
Well, he
Just
can't
find
find his. So he's supposed to fly back yesterday.
Yeah.
And then I saw just this morning, like the best they could do is like July 2nd.
To find his bag.
Today is for him to get on another plane back.
Oh my God.
He's stuck at Newark. $400 a night because the hotels are jacking it. So you're talking about June 28th. You're supposed to fly June 27th. July 2nd is the next available. July 2nd.
How does that happen?
Everything's over. Everything's over. We know how. We went over it. Everything's oversold. There's not enough people to work.
Again, where's the severe weather? Where am I missing it?
Well, a lot of today was because of all the smoke, which I don't understand. Like it's like basically if you're curious, like for all the people like, oh, I like Yellowstone, I want to go see Montana. Well, this is August. This is what it's like. It's just my brother said this years ago. He's like, Montana's almost to the point for like the next 25 years where it's going to be 2 seasons, winter and fire season. That's basically the way that it's going to go. So
really, okay.
Yeah, because it hasn't burned, and he has a degree in forestry from the University of Montana, so he's always dialed into that. And basically, because we are putting these things, his theory is that we're putting them out so quickly that the natural ones aren't allowed to burn. So there's all of this this stuff underneath the trees that's gotten
dry.
old and dry, and it needs to be burnt off for the forest to be healthy again.
But isn't what's happening in Canada is that they are
I don't know
just
about Canada.
There's
just
like
letting
400
it, but they're
fires.
just letting them go. That's their policy.
That's the policy. Just let them go. Yeah.
They just let them go.
I mean, it is raining in Minnesota. It's storming in Minnesota, Wisconsin. A little storm action around St. Louis. That is it in the entire East Coast has a little bit, but nothing that's like, oh, hey, we got to shut things down.
Yeah.
Why aren't we using these drones that they use in like China and Dubai, where they are able to fly drones into clouds and with electricity they cause the clouds to gather to produce rain? It's called cloud seeding.
Sold.
I've never heard of that.
Why don't we do that in
Sold.
Why don't we
Can
do
I
that
get
in
that for
Canada
my lawn?
over the fires?
And maybe do that. Just get a little rain. Maybe that would sort it out. Smolders forever, though, too.
A lot of
Smoldering forever.
Well, you and I are both familiar with the smolder.
We are, yeah. So like the busiest day is supposed to be tomorrow is the busiest flight day, like one of them the year. So it's just going to be a disaster. It's going to be an unmitigated disaster.
Especially because you've already set the tone for how it's going to go.
Yeah, and I don't know that there's no – I mean, the reason they're not honest with like your buddy and anybody about the flights is they don't want to send 300 more people to the line to try and get right. So they're trying to balance all of that as best they can so they don't have 300 more people looking for new flights. So they're trying to stagger all of that stuff to where it's manageable. But they've got 3 people at a desk. I'm at Reagan on Friday, last Thursday. There's 3 people working a desk.
Yeah. There also is in the olden days they had, and part of it I'm sure is like the stuff that I was doing as a consultant with some of the airlines. They had more planes and more capacity than they had passengers, and so if there was a cancellation, they were always able to get people, going. What I don't understand
So
though
why
is
did they change?
well, because
Money,
why would
obviously,
you?
but like-
yeah, right, exactly.
So
It
they're
could be more efficient.
But
here's the thing: if that plane never leaves, why can't they just like reschedule that plane at a different time? Like that's what I don't understand.
Yeah, put it into
That
a
plane
rotation.
has not left. My
Yeah.
flight that was canceled, that plane's still here. So how about we just, as soon as 6 a.m. tomorrow, we fly this plane out?
Probably don't have pilots, I would guess. I don't know.
Why they didn't fly?
I don't know.
But pilots
logical, I don't
bounce
know.
around. They don't have the same plane.
Not the same gear.
But if they haven't
Yeah.
left, they're there.
A lot of times they go right from one plane to another in an airport, though.
For sure. But I'm saying okay, let's take flight
You're saying
X.
my flight flight canceled. Whole plane canceled.
So the crew that was supposed to work
take
that
this
plane.
plane,
That's what-
take
That
that crew, tomorrow at 6, let's go.
Yes.
That would seem
And here's the other thing that they don't do, and like in these cases, maybe they should. They can take off at night. Why don't we just fly at 3 a.m?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah. Well, that's always the hours
So
is
that
what
they
they're worried
can
about,
get
right?
Yeah, but if they haven't been on there, so that they
Yeah.
can get where they need to get or whatever it is, but like just figure this stuff out. I mean,
I
Well,
think
more
that-
than likely, we're going to another airport that's actually open 24/7. Because I can tell you, after about 11 o'clock at night, it's kind of a ghost
There's
town
nothing
until
there.
about 5 in the morning.
Well, I would tell you that even on Sunday
At like 8
6
o'clock
o'clock
at night.
it was a ghost town.
Yeah.
It's like the apocalypse.
like everything's closed at like 8.
Yeah,
You're
there's
gonna
nobody
get
there.
Restaurants.
Yeah, there's nobody there. Yeah, I don't know. I do think like they basically have decided. They've had consultants and such tell them that it is better for them to deal with all of this negative PR, to go through employees left and right, to not have answers to questions, to refund next to nothing, and have the worst reputation versus having too many flights and planes for people.
Well, what I would say and what I would tell you is they've recorded record profits in the last calendar year.
Yes, correct.
So
Yeah. They're winning.
They're saying we're doing just fine, thank you.
Yeah, and they're putting these people out here to suffer the slings and arrows.
Oh,
They're sitting
yeah.
at these desks,
Yes.
trying to help people without solutions,
Correct.
and there's no
Then
real
they don't care.
solution.
First thing they got to do immediately, if you became like the CEO, stop overbooking planes. Here are the seats. Whatever's going to happen, like if it's full, it's full.
Yeah,
And then you,
that should
when
be
you-
illegal. Quite honestly,
Correct.
that should be illegal.
Yes.
And
should
then
be
if you have people that show up, you're going to have somewhat. You're going to have.
A couple of seats, people
Yeah.
miss flights, people can't make
But
a flight.
then people
whatever.
can get on.
Yeah,
Then you're leaving yourself a little window then to get people where they need to go.
yeah. That should be illegal. To sell
I
something
agree.
twice, that should be illegal.
Agreed.
Congress will get right to it. It'll be
So
10 years from now.
I'm flying Tuesday, which is the 4th of July.
Which is what?
your birthday.
That's right.
As a secondary aside, also the birthday of this country.
Yes.
Much smaller than
yes.
yours.
Well,
Right.
the fireworks were for me.
They were for you.
So I was told.
Until someone wrecked it. Who wrecked it?
Auntie Sue.
Aunt Sue. Why?
Didn't on purpose. She just didn't believe that it was. When I just said that, she was like,
Well, honey, this is for America.
well, she was saying the fireworks on the 4th of July are for America. And I was like, oh, no, they're for my birthday. They're like, who told you that? My dad, when they were quite familiar with my father.
Oh, they were
like,
well
yeah,
aware
no.
of his act.
Yeah, I got that and the blowing out lights. It was like the same time. Both of them gone.
The innocence.
Yeah. Gone.
Now, will you be flying at any part in your journey on Tuesday at night?
No, morning.
Sad. Because I've been told my wife has flown at night on 4th of July, and she said it's amazing.
That
she
would
said
make
it's,
sense.
it's
Yeah.
one of the best flights because it's fireworks the entire time. Get the window
Oh, yeah,
seat
yeah.
and
That
just
would be
watch
cool.
for 3 hours.
You know, I've flown on 4th of July before at night because I've had that experience flying from west to east. I have done that. I do remember that, like seeing the fireworks
Yeah.
throughout.
Yeah.
Where
If you're on the window seat.
where are you
I'm flying
going through?
Chicago.
Through Chicago
Through
there.
Chicago early morning, and then it's just Missoula. That's
You're
it.
fine.
So I think that would be
And then
okay.
back, though, you said through Denver.
That's going to be a nightmare.
Like, well, we'll hold up hope.
If they're going to cancel it, do it now. Like, don't make me waste a day. I have no interest in sitting at an airport. I'm not going to sit at an airport.
Right.
I've already warned my father. Like,
We could be here indefinitely.
quite the opposite.
Oh.
We could not be here at all. Yeah.
If it's.
Yeah. Like, if it comes time to, like, it's dicey next Tuesday morning, I'm out. I'll see you on down the road. I'm not going hopscotching around the world.
Did he ask if this had to do with your aversion to baling hay?
No, but this is actually provided me another wonderful excuse to not bale hay.
Yeah. Sure has.
Toxic smoke.
Toxic smoke.
Yeah. Now, I don't know if he's having it out there.
The official Nana took her walk today with a mask because she read that the particles are about the same size as bacteria. So
Okay.
she felt like a mask. She told me if I golf today that I need to wear a mask. I just don't think I could golf in a mask.
No, I don't think so either. You play quickly anyway.
As my one buddy said who's in the golf industry, this happens out west, as you
Oh,
said.
all the time.
He goes, like California, they play.
Yeah. No. This is
nothing.
2 years ago when we were
It
out.
is something to
It's
us.
for
but-
sure something,
Yeah,
and you can feel it. Like I feel it in my eyes. and all of it.
100%.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. The only difference out there is like the last time that we went out there a couple of years ago, we were down in Paradise Valley, and we flew into Bozeman, and we got a place down there. And the day we drove in, it was thicker than this. Like you could not see 2 blocks. Okay, it was smoke. 2 blocks.
wild.
When we landed, you couldn't see the mountains, which is impossible in Montana to not see the mountains, but you couldn't. That night, and this is the difference with West versus here, the wind started coming off the Rockies, and it blew the smoke out. So the next day we woke up, and you could see everything because it blew the smoke out. We don't have that kind of steady wind here
No.
that would blow it out. So that's kind
Right,
of
the wind,
that's
lack thereof.
That's the problem as where that is concerned. But no, yeah, this is a part of it, man. Get out there.
Just be careful. Like if you've got some issues, I think my kid was babysitting a family today, and their kids have some. I was like, "Do not take them
Yes,
outside." She
keep-
goes, "Oh, really?" I was like, "Yeah, don't. Not a
great.
good day."
No. Do you guys ever? Do you even recall that that story? This was down in that Zanesville story about the those wild exotic animals
Yes.
that broke loose and were running amok.
Yeah.
Remember this story?
Yeah.
So when I was in local news down there at the CBS affiliate, we covered that bigly. Like we had 2 choppers, and we had done stuff with Jack Hanna. Like we flew Jack Hanna out to Zanesville
That's awesome.
to go check it out. And that was one of the craziest stories ever. There was an incredible Esquire piece that was written about it. If you're out there listening and it's probably the best magazine piece I've ever read. It was an Esquire magazine, and it was the story of like what happened, that a local guy who wrote for Esquire wrote like what happened. And the first line of the first paragraph, you're hooked. But the first line of it is the horses knew first. Okay. So like it's set
aware.
off.
Yep.
Something ain't right. Right.
Yep.
There are predators that we're not used to. So I had my version of that. Like Buddy Garrity knew first. We go to take our walk this morning. Nope. I don't think so, Dad. I don't want that. I'm not going out there. I said, no, buddy. Come on. We got to go. Got to go do our business. Not having it. Was not having it. It was the quickest walk, do the business back in since he was a little puppy.
Yeah, but
honestly, probably since like the 30 below Christmas stuff.
Yeah.
No part of it.
No part of it.
No, mine both came to the door with me. We have a back door off the garage. I opened the door, and they both just stood there and looked at me like, you go out there first. Why don't you go deal with it?
Ace wanted no part of it. I'm like, no, you go do the poopy. Or you don't get to come back in.
You don't come back in.
So just go do it quick.
Yeah, knock it out.
Knock it out. She did. Yeah, our dog knew. I remember in the 1989, October 17th, 5:04 p.m., the earthquake in the World Series. The dog knew like a good 20, 30 seconds before because they can feel the vibrations, I guess.
Where were you? You were at your house?
Yeah.
What do you recall of it?
Everything.
All of it.
Yeah.
When did you go, oh, this ain't right? Had you felt anything like that previous?
I mean, I had been in earthquakes before, but not like that one. So you go to either under a door jamb or, under a table. Mm-hmm. Door jambs, I guess, are the strongest parts in the house. And so we went there, but then I'm pretty sure I ended up, in my mind anyway, under the kitchen table because I was like, this is crazy.
Yeah.
The dog started going crazy. How I knew it was bad is I was on the kitchen because I was able to look out in the living room, and we had just gotten a new TV, a new 25-inch TV.
Which was a monster in those days.
1989. And
Pedro
as you
Splurge.
know, those weren't screens. They were encased in this was encased in a wood box.
Yep.
So this thing weighed like hundreds of pounds.
Yep.
And I remember watching it kind of like bounce across our living room on the waves. And then we went outside, and after it stopped, and it was just like chaos. You could hear like sirens and like a movie. Like it was just complete chaos. And I remember our neighbor Sadie came out and was like, the Bay Bridge collapsed. And we were like, what? And now, fortunately, which just sounds terrible, but it was that one section. There's that crazy video that somebody was in 1989 rolling on it, where it goes down, and then obviously the Cypress structure, which was the real catastrophic part of it. But yeah, I remember that was nuts. But the dog knew beforehand, like started wigging out.
Oh my! Oliver starts losing his mind 2 hours before a thunderstorm comes.
Really?
They're on it.
Yeah, he starts. You look over and he's just shaking like what is going on? I guess I better check the weather.
They're smart. They are very, very smart. One thing, if we're ready for just a little bit of silliness,
please.
I don't know, it's not even silliness actually, that I've come across, and a part of me makes you think. I was thinking about 1989, thinking about baseball and the role that baseball played in my life at that time, which I loved it and enjoyed it. And I would be self-admitted, I am kind of out of baseball now. I enjoy going to a Guardians game, as a social endeavor, but like I'm not following or box scores or playing Stratomatic or playing baseball games or anything like that. I feel like there still is a great portion of people that still are fanatical about baseball. I think NFL is now obviously king. That's America's pastime more so than baseball is at this point.
Oh my God!
Like it's not even close.
I don't even think baseball's fourth. I think it's well down.
I think though that like what Ohtani is doing, isn't being discussed enough, and if it is, it's obviously not making it into my world.
So I deal with this a little bit in the morning, and so I think the thing on him is
he had 10 Ks and 2 homers.
That's right. So there's several factors that lead to this. Number one, he is playing in while it is one of the most gorgeous areas in this country, Orange County. He is playing in baseball Siberia. He's playing 10:05 starts.
Why don't they get him on the Yankees just for the sport?
Well, he's going to end up going to the Dodgers, which is going to make. I mean, the teams he's a free agent, so the teams he's interested. It's the Dodgers and the Padres, and apparently they have all the money. So
don't the Yankees?
They don't have Dodger money.
Really?
No.
Dodgers, I think, would be fine for him.
Yeah, but it's still 10:05.
Yeah,
it's no different. I mean,
they're
better.
For the Yankees.
Yeah,
or the Cubs,
or the Red Sox.
Right, but also like part of the reason that he did it, that he signed there, is because they were open to allowing him to do this. Like, I don't know how many other operations would have been open to him pitching and hitting.
He's elite.
I understand that. I would also say this. It's very likely that there were others that never got the opportunity to do this in 100 years. There had to have been. He's not a unicorn. I mean, he's performing like a unicorn, but there had to be others who had the ability to do this and didn't get the chance.
Possibly, yes.
Here's an example. The last year I was down in Tallahassee, there was a freshman shortstop / pitcher, number one player in the country who played for the Florida State baseball team. It's a guy that I bet you heard of named Buster Posey. Mm-hmm. Buster Posey would play shortstop. Came up as a shortstop. So he was a shortstop, and then they talked him a lot into catching because, power hitting 6'3", 4" catchers that's pretty good. That's a pretty good deal. If you're one of those guys, you can be a Hoff. But he would close games. So like a lot of times he would catch and then he would pitch the ninth and close it. And he was the best closer in the ACC. But then he went into the baseball. He went into this as a catcher.
Yeah.
So I think that there are probably guys who have had this ability, and we're just because of how obtuse we are with sports now, like specialization, we shut it down before it gets a chance to blossom into what Ohtani is. All of that to say, it is stupefying what he's done and is doing and has done for several years now.
Do you think that it is not getting the due that it deserves because of either the lack of popular baseball or the fact that like people like me or you or Gibby, I don't know if you played baseball as a young guy. I feel like everybody of our generation did. But, like, I was a very good baseball player back then, and the best players pitched and played shortstop.
Right, yeah.
So the fact that you were the best pitcher and the best hitter on your team wasn't that weird.
It's very normal.
But it is extremely weird, obviously, in
So my theory is
Baseball.
what they did is they took that kid who's the best shortstop and best pitcher, and over the course of the last 40 years, they said, well, you're better at this, so stop doing this. What if we took all of the time that it took for you to be the best shortstop and the best pitcher and the best hitter and just made you the best shortstop or just made you the best pitcher?
Right.
And that's the mentality of the American sports machine.
So to be able to do what he's doing at this level, to me, is incredible.
It is incredible. It's absolutely incredible. It's noticed, like it's on ESPN, like they put it up, like they talk about it. It's a couple of things, though. It's that sport has fallen off a cliff nationally. Baseball, just take here locally. We saw it in the attendance figures. Same thing going down in Cincinnati with this Ellie De La Cruz kid. So, like, locally, baseball is cared about tremendously. But what you care about is your team.
Yeah, because attendance is up, right? Mm-hmm.
Your team.
Yeah.
You in here, in Northeast Ohio, you care about the Guardians. You do not care about the Red Sox or the Cardinals or the Yankees or the Dodgers or the Angels or you don't care. You care about your team, right? So baseball is very secular in that it is so regionalized that I'm sure there are a ton of people here who are Guardians fans and love going to games and watch the games or listen to the games and all of that, but they're not watching the Angels. They don't love baseball, they love the Guardians. That's the difference. That's what the NFL has. Yes, we have Browns fans, but they're also football fans.
Well, because especially
and they'll watch
fantasy and
that adds to it. But like my dad doesn't play fantasy, but he'll watch 8 hours of football a day.
Oh yeah.
Like people that don't play just love the game.
Because it's good.
The game's great.
And I do think anything that has 162 games suffers from
for sure
the fact that then how many are special.
Correct. So there's that. So there's the 10 o'clock pitches. He's never played a postseason game.
It's crazy.
I don't know if Trout ever has.
And they've had him.
Trout was the guy. I think Trout maybe played one series, maybe. But Trout's been the generational player. Like he's our era's Mickey Mantle, or so I'm told. I've never really seen him play a full game, but that's what everybody says. And he's played his entire career in Anaheim in a closet.
Yeah.
So no one's seen him play.
He's 31 years old.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, my buddy.
No one's seen him play. The other factor with Ohtani, I think, is the fact. I mean, there's no question he would have more juice to him if he were an American player. Like that's another part of it.
Yeah. It's why I just think it's wild.
There's no anytime he does something, it's like, well, this is the last time this happened since 1893.
It's like it's crazy. To your point, though, I wonder if an American would ever get that chance. However, what'll be interesting to see follow is over the next 20 years, is there anybody else who ever reaches this level? Because now the notion that you can't do this has been thoroughly disproven.
I think you're open to it now more.
Yes.
Like this was a closed off idea for 100 years. Yeah. You couldn't do this. I mean, hell, they took the ball out of Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
That's the 20s. They said just hit.
Yep.
Mike Trout's played 3 games. One for 12 with a home run.
Okay. So that's what I mean. Like he's the best player of a generation. No one's ever seen him play. I mean, unless you went to a game where they play here. Have you guys seen Mike Trout play a game of baseball?
No.
Never. I see
I
him at an
couldn't-
all-star
if you lined
game.
up 20 people right now, and Mike Trout was one of them, they all looked like athletes and fit his height. Wait, I'd have no idea.
No clue. No. He's played his entire career in a closet.
Yeah.
Imagine if Mantle didn't play for the Yankees. Like, it's
Right.
crazy. And he signed up for it. He likes it. There was a time like 4 or 5 years ago where there was talk he was going to go to Philly because he's a Jersey kid. Like, if he plays for the Phillies, then it's a different vibe. Just totally, because people would have seen him and they'd be relevant. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
What is the football equivalent? What would the football equivalent be to what Ohtani is doing?
Somebody was saying like it would be like as if, Lamar Jackson ran for 100 yards, threw for 200 and 2 touchdowns, and then turned around and played corner and had 3 picks in the game.
So that's a good one. I thought about like if Jamar Chase was like, hey, let me go cover Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
And then he did it. He was like, or if Nick Chubb's like,
I feel like somebody's got to
I'm
be
gonna go play linebacker.
Right, feel like and the reason I use the Lamar one,
I think
feel like
Lamar's
because of
even
a
better
pitcher,
than
you've got to be throwing it right.
So you're not
on
running
some level.
over and over and over.
Yeah. So like to be able to throw it effectively, run it effectively, and then turn around and then play defense and intercept other quarterbacks, like that's nuts.
Yeah.
Because basically you're pitching, striking out hitters, and hitting.
I think that's the best one.
And hitting pitchers.
I think you've done it. I think it was the best one because the receiver corner analogy, it's a similar muscle skill set you're using.
Yeah.
Whereas this is a very different skill set from throwing and then playing the field or hitting or whatever. So that's probably it. It's probably the quarterback and corner.
It's wild.
It really is. It's a crazy thing, and he does it regularly. And he's going to be a free agent this year. Like, how do you even go
Can they
about
not
it?
afford him?
Of course they can. I just don't think he wants to play for an irrelevant franchise anymore.
Again, got it.
So if he likes Southern California, which who doesn't, I'll just go play for the Dodgers. They can give me all the money in the world, and I can play relevant baseball.
Yeah.
And
Man.
at the time, I think he wanted to go American League because of the DH ability.
Right.
So
he wouldn't have to be in the play in the field.
So he wouldn't have to
it
play in the
really
field
is a
to get
wild
hit.
thing. Yeah.
It's crazy.
So we're going to do higher or lower next.
Okay.
Because we're throwing out some bangers on the segments.
Okay. All right. So you got that. You got that. Is AP going to join for that?
Yeah.
All right. So you got that to look forward to. You also have a little bit of our guy AB along with Kwesi on a little bit of a round table. We'll have that for you a little bit later as well. It is a First Friday edition. I've got a new way. I never thought there'd be a new way I would like to consume bourbon, but I was led by the best, and so remind me to tell you that.
I'd like to hear
a little
about
bit, a little bit later on in the program as well. We're off and running here. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. of Injury Lawyers, dedicated to every client every day. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. With that, time for a little higher or lower. Presented by Keep It Fun Ohio from the Ohio Lottery, who remind you to know the risks before you gamble. AP is here.
AP on the phone on the Twisted Tea hotline.
There he is. AP, you're here.
Keep it twisted.
Yes,
Cleveland.
sir. Yes, sir.
All right, buddy.
What's up, guys?
Felt bad.
AP,
we
how's
got to get him back.
How are your
he came
lungs?
over here yesterday.
Hey, you blowing? We breathing in the smoke, AP?
Oh, yeah. No, I actually walked into the stadium today with a mask. I stepped outside my apartment initially, smelled the fire, and I was just like, I'm not going to do this. So, yeah, I was. I put the mask on today, and it's been weird going into the city, driving down the Shoreway, and not really seeing the skyline at all until I was literally right in the middle of the city. So, yeah spooky stuff.
Yeah. Summer in Montana. That's how it is.
Winter and fire season.
Yeah. Can't see when you can't see a mountain range that's 12,000 feet high. You got a problem.
That's serious.
You got a problem on your hands.
Yeah.
All right, let's do this. We did numbers 21 through 40 last week.
Right.
Today, it is the top 20 quarterbacks in Chris Sims' top 40 QB rankings. First and foremost, his top three. Mahomes 1, Burrow 2, Josh Allen 3. AP, I will start with you. Who would be number 4 in your power rankings?
Oh, I like that. Good job by you, Give it.
I mean, I think it's definitely Herbert, and I'm really not sure if there's a whole lot of an argument here either. I think first off, Herbert's been it has an incredibly strong arm, as we all know. That's all that he's shown ever since he got to the NFL a few years ago. He's also been healthy. I think the big thing that everybody's kind of been waiting to see with him doesn't really have to do with him at all, and that's just his receivers staying healthy. That's the key for Justin Herbert to really take that next step and officially become a QB that is right on par with Joe Burrow, Pat Mahomes, Josh Allen. He's maybe a little bit a step below them, but he's right there, and he will be there once he has some healthy receivers.
I also think he needs a coach. Bo Bishop, who would be your number 4?
No, I think that's the right one. The only thing that's just kind of strange, I mean, it is strange. Like, he's 25 and 24 as a starter, and they've got a great roster.
Yeah,
they've got a lot of dudes, and he actually did take a decent step back last year, just statistically. 25 touchdowns, 10 picks after coming off of a 38 and 15. Now, they had guys injured, especially receivers. They were beat up there a lot. He was down 20 yards in yards per game. I think it's the right guy. I think the first three are clearly the first three, and then he starts a group. And if I'm going to say, like, the one thing I would say here, as I'm looking at his, like, I think Lawrence, I'll say this. I think Lawrence is going to, by the time we get to this season and into it, I think Lawrence will be closer to Herbert maybe than Herbert is to Burrow, Mahomes, and Allen. Like that, I think there's a line there between the first three and the next couple.
Zegura?
Look,
he's great.
I'm a big Herbert guy.
Oh,
I think that he is.
You're
I think he's
president
a stud.
of the Chargers fan club.
I think that he is. He's got the size, he's got the arm, but I think that we're being a little disrespectful to Aaron Rodgers.
I was waiting for somebody. Thank you.
I don't have a problem with
Aaron Rodgers had what was considered by his standards to be a horrific year last year.
I have the numbers in front of me.
65%, 3,700, 26 and 12. The 2 years before that were 70%, 4,300, 48 and 5, and then 69%, 4,100, 37 and 4. So the 2 years before that, he had thrown 85 touchdowns versus 9 picks. I don't think for example, if Herbert were taken off the Chargers and put onto the Jets, I don't know that we're thinking of them as the Super Bowl contenders that we are with Rodgers. Obviously, it would be a massive upgrade. You think they'd be great, and I'm a big Herbert guy. But Aaron Rodgers,
26 and 12 with nothing.
And I think last year he was pretty disgruntled and pretty moody and all of those things, and maybe that's being factored in by Chris Sims.
It's funny. Give me his numbers again last year.
Last year, which are similar to Herbert's, right?
Yeah, that's why I want
the
you
yards are not, and the attempts
What's
are
the
not.
percentage?
65%
to 68. Okay.
3,700 yards, 26 touchdowns, 12 interceptions.
Okay, so he threw for less. Yeah, but it's not crazy different.
The 2 years before that, his quarterback ratings were 121 and 112. And as I said, he threw 85 touchdowns and 9 picks. Like, I don't know that we talk about that enough. In 2020, 2021, the guy threw 85 touchdowns with 9 picks.
He won the MVP back-to-back, right?
I believe you have that right. I know his first team All-Pro both years, yeah. He won the MVP in both those seasons as well.
Couldn't win a playoff game, though, in either year. Am I
Couldn't
correct on that?
couldn't win the – no, they just couldn't – they got the NFC Championship both times, didn't
Man.
Just Niners got him.
Niners got him in a game where they scored like 2 points.
I was going to say, that wasn't a championship. I think that was like a divisional round at best.
Well, they would have had a bye. Yeah, it's a good question. Good question.
I don't know if they've won it. If
You might be right, Gibby, that they haven't won a playoff game in a while.
Are you looking that up, Z?
No, but here, hold on. Let's see. They went 1-1 in 2020, so he did win one playoff game in 2020. In 2021, they lost 29. They lost that game to the Niners.
So that was the
It's
divisional
like
game to the Niners.
13-3 or something.
Yeah. And the year before, they lost to the Ramets.
Yeah, the 2 years prior, he threw for in a grand total of 4 games. He threw for 1,100 yards, 9 touchdowns, and 3 picks in 4 games. Quarterback rating of 105. I still think
he's my number 4.
I'd still put him at 4.
Yep.
He's got him all the way down at 8.
Yeah.
I mean, there's like he's got him 3 spots behind Lamar. Like
Correct.
That's a little silly.
That's silly.
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, we go to our guy. He comes in at number 9, Deshaun Watson. Bo Bishop, higher, lower, just right.
So it's the hardest evaluation on the whole list because you're saying what he was 2 years ago, which we believe is in there, and he's in the list we just talked about. He's in the top 5 in the league.
Yes.
If he's that guy.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But didn't play a year and then didn't play 11 games. So we have this 6-game thing, which was awkward for everybody, including him. I'm going to tell you what. I think Sims actually gets the sweet spot. I think this is
agree.
about right. I think this is about where Deshaun should be. I think it's a nice balance of last year was really rough and rougher than I think anybody here ever thought, certainly more rough than I thought it would be. Even though we did warn you, he's not a video game character. You can't just plop him in and he's a 92 overall and away you go. So I think 9 is a good mix of the real truth on what he is and the reality of we just haven't seen it in a while.
Segura.
Couldn't agree more. I think it's fair. I don't think you'd put him ahead of right now the people ahead of him. I do think that by the end of the year, if he does what we believe he will do, he will be in the top 4.
Yeah. I mean,
From
he's
your mouth to God's ears.
Yeah. I mean, if he's what he was 2 years ago, he's right with Allen, Burrow, Mahomes.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's no doubt. And he's and Rodgers. I think Rodgers would have still. I agree with you on that.
Yeah. And shout out to Chris Sims for being the one national journalist that's giving him some kudos.
Sims not a journalist, to be fair. Pundit.
He's a media analyst.
He's a pundit.
Let's put it that way.
I'll tell you what. If Danny Dimes plays to his rating on here, that will be a
we'll
great
get
thing
to
for
him.
the Giants.
Next.
Higher or lower?
All right, so you know the top 4. Number 5 is Lamar Jackson. AP, higher, lower, or just right?
Well, yeah, you guys mentioned it when we were talking about Aaron Rodgers, but I would have him lower on this list. I'd probably have him around 8 or even 9. I think he just needs to be more consistent. He obviously needs to stay healthy. We had that conversation too last week about Tua, and I think the health does factor into Sims' rankings here. So, but he needs to stay healthy. I think the added playmakers will help him a lot this year. This is probably the best receiving cast he's had since joining the Ravens, but he's 3 years removed from his MVP season now, and he hasn't really played all that close to it. I feel like people are kind of like hanging on to that when they're doing these QB rankings, and when Lamar is as high as number 5, they still have that season in the back of their heads. But the truth is he really hasn't played that close to that level since then. And so I would probably bump him between, like, I'd say 7, 8, 9. He's in the top 10 for sure, but I'd have him in 7, 8, 9 range.
Bishop.
It's too high.
I agree.
It's too high. Much of what I just said about Deshaun, you could apply to Lamar. Like, he doesn't get through seasons healthy. So there's no way that I would have him above Lawrence or Hurts or Rodgers or Deshaun, honestly. Like, I would have – and, look, all of this should also be followed with this. I still think when healthy, he's the toughest game plan in the league.
Yep.
Week to week. When you're not used to seeing it, it's a
the
full
only
day.
team that you have to
It's
change
a
everything.
full day, yeah. So, like, I'm still incredibly appreciative of his talent. It's just that this is also an all-time era for the quarterback position in the league. So he does need to go down. Yeah.
Show me that you can play in December, buddy.
Look, he's
gotta be
averaged
healthy,
over
man.
60 yards rushing a game in 4 straight seasons. He averages over 6 yards a carry for his career. Last year was 6.8, which was the second highest of his career. He's led the league in rushing yards per carry twice. Last year he was much better than 2 years ago. 17 touchdowns, 7 picks. 2 years ago was 16 and 13. Again, the question with him is, what is the ceiling, right? Can he, to me, to be a top 5 quarterback in the league, I need you to be able to thrive in all situations. I need you to be as dangerous on 3rd and 10 as you are on 2nd and 5. And I don't believe that he is. Now, he can be because of his legs, but I'm talking about throwing it when they know you need to throw it.
It's one of my favorite things you ever said out loud on the radio.
Thanks.
I love that. I use that all the time. Can you throw it when they know you're throwing it?
Yeah.
That's the whole league. I love that line out of you.
It is the league.
It's
and
the whole operation.
I don't think that's his skill set. I think that his skills, he is great, and I'm not knocking his ability to throw at all. And they're trying to get him some weapons this year, and we'll see what happens. But at the end of the day, I think there are 8, 9 quarterbacks that can do that, and he is not amongst them. And so he and Jalen Hurts are kind of in some ways in that regard similar, but I felt like, and you could correct me if I'm wrong, but I felt like Jalen Hurts demonstrated last year an ability to make more big-time throws in those types of situations.
Yep.
With, albeit a better supporting cast with A.J. Brown, with Devontae Smith, with Dallas Goedert. But, he completed 67% of his passes. He averaged 8 yards an attempt, and he averaged over 8.5 yards, air yards per attempt. Lamar Jackson was under 7 on both. Mm-hmm. So that's a completely different passing style. You're talking about 1.5 yards, almost 2 yards more in the air per attempt, and then over 1 yard per attempt of success.
Yep.
I personally would put Jalen Hurts ahead of him. I think Jalen Hurts right now is every bit as dynamic a runner, and he's stronger, which makes him a goal line threat. The guy's rushed for 23 touchdowns the last 2 years, 13 last year, 10 the year before. I think Jalen Hurts is a better version right now of Lamar Jackson, which is something that would have been preposterous to say out loud 3 years ago.
He's probably not as fast, as dynamic a runner, but he's a stronger runner.
Stronger.
So that's – as I said,
I think he's a better thrower.
I have Lamar down.
Next.
Higher or lower?
Trevor Lawrence is number 6. It takes us to number 7. And Jalen Hurts.
Yep.
Sorry, wrong name.
That's all right. We were talking about them both.
Yep. Nathan Zegura, Jalen Hurts, higher, lower, or just right?
Definitely, I would say higher. I think that he is better than what we saw. Now, he is in a great system. He's got great weapons, but the throws he made last year, some of them were absolutely beautiful balls, and you saw that their offense with Gardner Minshew, who can throw it, did not live up to where it was when he was the quarterback. So if he continues his ascent, and when I talk about ascent, I talk about trends, right? And if you go from Lamar's MVP season over the last 3 years, and then you look at Jalen Hurts over 3 years, Hurts' completion percentage is going up every year. His touchdown passes have gone up every year. His touchdown interception ratio has gotten better every year. His yards per attempt have gotten better every year. His air yards per attempt have gotten better every year. His rating has gotten better every year. His QBR has gotten better every year. Lamar's trajectory is actually different than that. 2 years ago would have been the 2021 season would have been his lows. He bounced back a little bit, but still not to his highs. So Jalen Hurts feels like an ascending player to me, and so just on that alone, I would put him ahead of Lamar Jackson. But I think if you were saying would I rather draft Jalen Hurts today or Trevor Lawrence, I'd still take Trevor Lawrence.
AP, higher, lower, just right for Mr. Hurts.
I think those are all very strong points from Zegura, and I agree with them. I would also have Jalen Hurts on this list. I would have him above Lamar Jackson and Trevor Lawrence. I maybe would still put him behind potentially Aaron Rodgers based on the arguments you guys were saying with him earlier, which I also thought was very strong. But look, Hurts was a guy that just took his team to the Super Bowl and was second in MVP to the guy that he lost the Super Bowl in. He belongs higher in this list than 7 for those reasons. I think he's the top 6 at best quarterback in this league. 7 is probably the maximum where you could reasonably put him on a list like this. I would definitely have him higher. He's been playing better than Lamar Jackson. I think he has been playing better than Trevor Lawrence too. I agree with your point, Zegura. I'd probably take Trevor Lawrence over Jalen Hurts in a draft, but on this list, I still think he might be higher based on how he played last year.
I guess I am going to be way in the minority on this, but okay, you had a great year. Taking nothing away from you, you took your team to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Can you do it 2 years in a row now that there's plenty of tape on you?
I think it's valid. He's also got a coordinator
You got to
change.
show me.
He's playing behind the best offensive line in football. They have as many weapons as everybody except for the Niners. Like, he has been curated. I mean, the position he's in is so nurturing but that doesn't take away. He still had to do it.
Correct.
But I do. So, like, if you say to yourself, if Lawrence was in Philly from the beginning, what would that look like?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right? If Herbert was in Philly from the beginning. So, like, he's been in the perfect spot to grow.
Just remember, though, they
But
were
he did it.
chastised for drafting him in the second round because they had Carson Wentz, and Howie Roseman, to his credit, obviously good selection there, and it certainly has paid off, and it shows
We
you can
sat
never,
right there
yeah.
11 months ago, and that team walked in, and we go, they got everything,
Yep.
but can Hurts go?
And even their
That was the
media
question.
said that.
We didn't
Of
know.
course, but nobody
knew
knew at that
Nobody
point.
knew he could go.
He showed you some glimpses in 21 of it, but it wasn't to this level, and then all of a sudden, then he's cooking with gas.
Am I wrong in saying your known commodities, Mahomes, Burrow, Allen, and I would put Rodgers in there. Show me's are Herbert, Lamar, Lawrence, Hurts, our guy, and Stafford, if you're talking the top 10.
Stafford's in a different – I have him in kind of like his own thing with him.
But you got to show me that you're healthy
I
again.
think the rest of those guys – I think Lawrence is going to go nuts this year.
Yes.
He should.
I think he's going to go nuts.
Calvin Ridley there. Yeah.
2 years of competent coaching.
Yep.
Ridley gets paratrooped in out of nowhere. They already had weapons. Etienne fully formed. I mean, I think he goes nuts in the South. I do. I think he really elevates.
Next,
Higher or lower?
we mentioned it. Rodgers 8, Watson 9, number 10, Matthew Stafford, Bo Bishop.
Can I just, aside from this ranking, I think that dude is one of the most fascinating touchstones in the league this year. Because I do not understand why he would want to play on that team that they've constructed. Furthermore, I don't know why that team would want a healthy Matthew Stafford to play for them.
Right.
They, to me, feel like a team that's going to the bottom and trying to flip quickly and get back into the mix with one of these quarterbacks in next year. This roster is awful. It's bad. So is he somebody that gets dealt at some point? I'll say this, if he's healthy, then he's as good as anybody on this list other than Burrow and Mahomes. And I mean, when he's healthy. But I don't know. I mean, like, it's an elbow, man. He was really good 2 years ago.
He was. Still led the league in interceptions with 17. I like Matt Stafford a lot. I think he needs to be in a good situation like he was in 2021. I agree with you. He's somebody that I would want in Miami if I were the Miami Dolphins. I would definitely want them, but
how old is he?
He's getting up there, man. He's getting up there now. He is 35.
Oh. And he's an old 35 because he took a lot
of
of
beatings.
hits.
Yeah.
Beatings in Detroit. Absolute beatings.
Yeah. Next.
So he's – let me see this.
Like, if you look at his
Higher or
last
lower?
5 years, like 21 was a huge outlier. Not to say that those Detroit teams were good, but 21 was a big outlier for him in terms of his production.
He was pretty good in 20 for that roster.
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Here comes the interesting part of this conversation. We talked about the top 10 quarterbacks. Number 11, Daniel Jones. Number 12, Kirk Cousins. 13 is Dak Prescott. AP, number 14, Russell Wilson. Higher, lower, or just right?
Yeah, I think he is also somebody who is pretty hard to locate or correctly locate on this list here. I would drop him personally. I would drop him behind Geno Smith and Jared Goff, and I'm just not as high on him as I think a lot of people are for him after what he did last year. I don't think it's a slam dunk he'll bounce back with a head coaching change. And by bounce back, I mean play at the same level he was at with the Seahawks. I think he can still be a good quarterback. I don't think he's going to be a great quarterback that is going to lead the Broncos the same way he did with the Seahawks. Now, look, maybe he'll come back and he'll play really well and he'll do great. But until he proves that after last season, I think he's a very middle of the pack QB who belongs behind the QBs who had career best years last year, and that's Geno Smith and Jared Goff.
I don't agree with that.
No?
No.
What do you got?
I mean,
Higher,
I think
lower,
just the
just
same
right.
way that it was, I'll go back to, this is to use AP's logic against him, the same way he's blamed coaching for Trevor Lawrence's first year and then was like, oh, now that he's got good coaching, look at him in his second year. Russell Wilson had arguably the worst coaching in the league last year. I think he's going to bounce back. I am, again, let me just state, I've never been a Russell Wilson guy.
No, same.
At all. I don't particularly care for the guy, but he's really good. They've got talent. They're going to have a coach that's going to bring it out of him, and now he's gone to the point where he used to be – Russell Wilson to me went from underrated to way, way overrated, and now he's being, like, dismissed like he's a jabroni on the corner, and he's not. I think he's going to be just fine.
Bishop, any thoughts?
I align more with Z on this in the standpoint of he's going to go from a bad spot to I'll say this, he's going to be in a hell of a spot to succeed.
Yes.
Yes.
They're gonna
If he can't do
it here,
we're done.
The one thing I do wonder about him though is how much of his, if you think about like when he was at his best, I mean he made 5 straight Pro Bowls. He's 9-time Pro Bowler. He made 5
to 21,
straight.
9 out of 10. He
Yeah.
made 9 out of 10 Pro Bowls.
Yeah. You think about when he was at his best. I think about like 18, 19, 20, 21, like 20 really, the let Russ cook years.
Yep.
He's a 65 to 68% passer.
Yep.
It's 35-7, 31-5, 40-13. One thing he always did was protect the ball.
Yep.
Like he was pretty good at that. He'd take sacks. The one thing that I do think has happened to his game where there's been a regression is he's not as dynamic as he used to be. Like he used to be someone who you'd fear running it. Now it feels like he's far more prone to take sacks, and not even just last year in Denver, but also his last year in Seattle, where he took a lot of bad sacks. So he's not what he was, but he's still a lot better than I think. I think you're right. I think it's gone the wrong way on him. There's been an overcorrection.
All right. Final thing here. Mac Jones was 20, Kyler Murray 19, Derek Carr 18, Goff 17, Tannehill 16, Geno Smith 14. Any thoughts, takeaways? AP, I'll start with you.
I think Tannehill is ranked too highly on this list. I don't think he's going to ever become the quarterback who he was a couple years ago when the Titans were competing for the AFC.
Agreed.
I think injuries, age, everything, 16 seems too high on this list. I would have him behind Goff, behind Carr, maybe behind Murray. I guess there could be an argument there. That's what stands out to me. I think everything else in the middle of this list is, I think, fairly correctly placed.
Zegura?
I agree on the Tannehill. I mean, we're talking about a guy that is wonderful when the running game's going good, wonderful when they've got the lead, but when he's got to throw it, when they know he's got to throw it, not great. And I think that's where you see quarterbacks like that, where they then go and they struggle a little bit in the playoffs. And you look at last year, or the last time he was in the playoffs, 2021, 3 picks in that game against Cincinnati where they lost, and that really just kind of set them off in a tough spot. The other guy that I guess I'm more curious about the ranking, and look, the Giants obviously felt that he was deserving of it. They gave him a monster contract, but it is Danny Dimes. Danny Dimes last year, 67% completions, career highs. Completion percentage improved every year. But we're talking about in his best year, he threw for 3,200 yards at 15 touchdowns, only 5 picks. That's wonderful. But that feels odd to me. He's never been over 7 yards per attempt, never been over 7 air yards per attempt in his career. Does he give you a little something with his legs? Yes, he does. Last year, career high 708 yards, 7 touchdowns rushing. The year before, though, in 11 games, 298. His previous career high was 423. So was that an outlier, or is that something they're going to do more of with him, and what's the longevity of that? But is he a guy that can step back there and just throw the ball when you need it? And the answer to that, I don't know. I don't know.
That's probably that. Remember, in the last time we did this, we were talking about Mac Jones at
Correct.
20, and I was just like, wait, what? That's how I felt about Dan Jones being here at 11. I don't think I think I would rather have Goff than Jones, honestly.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I don't understand that.
Mm-hmm.
I'd definitely rather have Carr than Jones. Kyler is a total wild card to me. I'm not sure what his give a damn level is, or any of that. I think he's got Geno a little too high on this based off of the 1 year. And I've never been a Cousins guy. He feels like a fantasy quarterback. I don't know if he's a real one, but he benefits. He's won a lot. He's better than you think, but then also like you wait for like moments, and I don't know where those are either. Like, has he ever been somebody the team's won because? It doesn't feel like it. Feels like you can win with him, but I don't know that you can win because of him. Is kind of the way
it feels
I am
like
on
they're
him.
right.
And that is higher or lower to wrap up the off season.
There you go. Good job out of UAP.
Appreciate it, guys, as always.
All right, buddy. We'll see you on the other side, right? That's when we'll see AP next, on the
Yep.
other side of things. We'll no longer be at the undisclosed. All right, second hour coming up next. Go around the league. You'll hear from AB and Kwesi as well in this second hour of the program. And the top 25 players under 25. We get to that, all of that here on a First Friday. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland. Backed by popular demand, your favorite four-legged companion. It's year 2 of Barking Backers, presented by Milk-Owned, the fan club for dogs. View membership options and join today at barkingbackers.com. Just tragic news out of the South today. The passing of Ryan Mallett, former NFL quarterback and Arkansas Razorback, Michigan Wolverine quarterback. Ryan Mallett drowned. This was in North Florida, right?
Yep,
Was it
correct.
Destin
Yeah.
area again?
Yep.
There's not many details on it other than that he had passed this morning. I covered his Sugar Bowl against Ohio State when he led Arkansas to the Sugar Bowl with Bobby Petrino. Nice kid, and was he was next in line. Had Lloyd Carr stayed at Michigan, he was the quarterback that would have followed Chad Henne, and they would have kept that run going. Instead, they pushed him out. They brought in Rich Rodriguez, and Rich Rodriguez said, "I don't want prototypical quarterbacks. I want guys who can run." And so he ran off Mallett, which was just the stupidest thing ever to do.
And I'm pretty sure that I was on the sidelines for his first start, which came as a member of the Houston Texans against the Browns.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure that his first touchdown pass was a goal line pass to T.J. Watt.
Really? Or J.J. Watt?
J.J. Watt.
Yeah.
J.J. Sorry. J.J.
Yes.
Watt of the Houston Texans.
Oh, yeah. He beat us.
Playing tight end.
That was the game. It was cold. We're like, cold weather. Houston's coming up here. This is good. We got a
right.
W coming. And J.J. Watt walked out in like an undershirt and shorts and was doing snow angels. And I'm like, well, we're dead.
All right, so I have that right. The year was 2014. It was my first year on the sideline.
Yep.
And his first start came against the Browns, and he beat the Browns in that game. Let's see if I can get the final score here.
Was it 23-14?
He beat the Browns 23-7.
Gave us too much credit.
23-7, and in that game, his first ever touchdown pass was to J.J. Watt, who played goal line tight end for them, and that was in the first quarter. It was a 2-yard pass from Ryan Mallett, and it was down in the dog-bound end zone. Then we caught up, and then he threw a 20-yarder to Garrett Graham. 3 field goals later, 23-7. Lone scoring for the Browns was Brian Hoyer to Andrew Hawkins. Yeah, we got smoked, and that's when they just went to the free fall, right? Because it was that 2014 team was 7-4 at one point, so they win one more. They were 6-3 going into that game. The Texans were 4-5, and we got smoked.
Wasn't he always, and you guys were boots on the ground here at that point, I wasn't up here then, but wasn't he always somebody that Browns fans were like, trade for Mallett? Like everybody always wanted the backup after Matt Castle was good, and went to Kansas City. Everyone's like, get the backup in New England. And then it felt like Bill overplayed his hand with him. Like he waited too long to trade him. Like there was always this intrigue around him, and then they held on. And then eventually I don't think they got too much for him. Not
third round of the 2011 draft, and then 2014 he goes to Houston, and then 15 it's Houston and Baltimore, and then he was with the Ravens for 16-17. So stayed in the league 6 years. Yeah. But that's the ocean is scary. I got
man.
As I get older, and we're talking, Ryan Mallett, professional athlete. What happened with Peyton Hillis? He's a hero, but almost took his life. There's a guy who was a pro wrestler, Shad Gaspard, in L.A. The ocean's scary. We were down in, I want to say, Juno Beach for spring break.
See, that's what the
I want to say
smokes do to you.
2017.
Smokes did that to me this morning.
2017, 2018, in that range. And I remember we were out there one day, and I was just like, man, this is just – it's
gnarly.
terrifying.
Yeah.
It is not a lake. It's not a pool.
Mm-mm.
It is wild. Forget just the creatures that are in there, but I'm talking about like the power of the waves, the power of an undertow, and it's very scary. And you got to have a very healthy respect because there have been so many tragedies. And I think you said in that area there have been like 10 or 12 deaths.
Where is it? In the past 9 days, 8 rip current related deaths.
That's outrageous.
Close the beach.
I mean, they are
like if someone's getting eaten by a shark once a day.
That area, that's where Cole is. That's my favorite. That's 30A. That's watercolors just east of that. That's
destined to Panama City.
That whole area. I mean, the beaches are the best, I think, in the country there. It's powder sugar, white sand, and emerald water that is awesome. But they do get, as evidence there, violent rip tides, and they do a pretty good job of saying stay out of the water. Like they'll double red it, they'll put the flags up and say
they
stay
fine
out.
you. You can be
Oh
fined
yeah,
for
they
it.
will come at. But it's too much damn beachfront to police.
Yeah.
So at some point you have to think for yourselves a little bit. That's crazy.
Saturday in Panama, on Panama City Beach alone, in a 5-hour stretch, 39 rescues, 3 deaths.
Wow.
Like, get out of the water.
Get out of it, man.
Go to the pool.
Yeah, get out of the water. That's crazy. You can't be in that.
The one thing that people, I think, just because I've read a bunch about this, following a couple of, that became very public tragedies, and as somebody I'd been caught in a rip current once before, and people think you try to fight it and swim your way back in. You can't. You've got to go parallel to the shore. You go parallel to the shore until you get out of the rip current, and then you can go back in towards the shore. But you can't.
You can't go against it.
You can't fight it. You will not win.
You will lose.
You will lose. So you've got to go parallel, and then you'll be able to get outside of the rip current, and you'll be able to get back.
Yeah. Before we got on air, I told that story down in the Bahamas where I was with Beamsy, and I just threw him because one yanked me, and he yanked me, 50 feet. By the time, and the only thing that kept me from staying under was I hit a sandbar, and that popped me up. Yeah, I had no clue where I was. I mean, but if it's hitting somebody like you and it's having that effect on you, and you're the type of swimmer you were, I mean, imagine there's no beating it.
The panic is, here's the thing: rip currents don't pull people underwater.
No,
they pull you away from the shore.
Yeah.
So know that it's not going to pull you underwater. But what people panic and what they do is then they try to swim against it, and then waves are crashing over them. Then they get pulled, and then you get discombobulated, and then you end up in a very bad situation. But if you can stay calm, once it pulls you out, that's fine. Just relax, and then just swim along the shore. You can pick either direction, and once you get outside, you'll know you're outside of the rip current, and you just kind of follow the waves back in.
Yeah. But it's hard to have that.
It's hard to have
moment,
it, but
that's the only way.
Yes.
I am seeing this from an NFL news perspective. Schefter with this: a handful of NFL players, including the Colts' Isaiah Rodgers, are expected to receive season-long suspensions this week for violating the NFL's policy on gambling. Adam Schefter reporting that.
What are you
as
doing? How do you not know the rule?
I mean, here's the deal.
How do you think you can circumnavigate it if you do know the rule?
I don't think that a lot of these guys are listening. Clearly. When people are telling them what the rules are. I think a lot of these guys don't understand the severity of it. And I think there's the one thing that I don't think – so I think you're failing an intelligence test first. And then I think the other part of it is there is some ambiguity because it's like, well, wait a second. Like there's officially betting partners of everybody. Yep. Everybody's got an official betting partner now, but I can't bet on something that isn't the NFL on my phone in the facility? Like, wait, what? Like how would you think that you couldn't do that? It almost doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense. Now, if somebody in here if one of these people bet on the NFL, then you get what you deserve. But if you're sitting in your car in the parking lot at a team facility and you bet on a college whatever game, those are the rules. I understand it, but yeah.
So that will happen, at some point. The DirecTV announced renewal and expansion of content with what's going on here, Gibbe?
So
what do they get? Because the Sunday ticket's gone.
Kind of, but not necessarily. It will be a different version of it. Hold on. My computer is not. It's a multi-year renewal of its affiliation agreement that will extend carriage of NFL Network on DirecTV and will add distribution of NFL Network via DirecTV Stream and UVerse. Also, DirecTV will now, for the first time, carry NFL Red Zone across all platforms.
That's because they won't have the ticket anymore.
Both NFL Network and NFL Red Zone will be available on all platforms in the coming weeks.
Would you guys have guessed? Let's play Guess the Stats. How long do you think – when do you think Sunday ticket became a thing? Give me your year. Sunday ticket happens when?
In my mind –
2007.
No, way earlier than that. I think it was around when I was in high school, but you'd had to go to like a bar to watch it. And so I'm going to say in 90. I remember going to the bar, going to a not a bar, but like a sports bar in 94, 95 to watch Jeff George and the Falcons play. So I'll say
Got it.
94, 95.
94. September 4th, 1994. It's been on DirecTV from 94 until 2022.
Yeah, till last year.
And then next year it goes to YouTube TV, which is, I think, going to be a mess.
I'd have to go out to Livermore. There was a sports bar in Livermore where I could go and I could watch the Falcons.
Go watch Sunday Ticket.
Yeah.
Didn't want to watch the Niners?
I was unhappy with them at the time.
Pedro Jr.
Yeah.
Well, normally I would be able to go. I would watch the Falcons at 10, and then I'd be able to come back, and the Niners would be on at 1.
1. God, that West Coast is amazing.
So good for football.
So good for
And then
football.
you get Sunday Night Football at 5.
There's nothing it's bad for, let's be honest.
True.
There's no negatives.
Well,
to
the
the time
fact
zone.
that it might end up earthquakes, it might end up.
No,
in
no,
the
I'm talking
ocean
from a
soon.
time zone
Sure.
perspective. There is no loss to Mountain or Pacific time.
No.
None.
No. There's gain. There's
they
a lot
just
of gain.
stack dubs.
Yeah.
Stack dubs. That's all they do. To be able to watch the entire day of the NFL and then have a night,
Yeah.
come on.
Yeah. Is
Jeez.
elite.
That's absolutely elite. All right, so there's where you stand on that. Coming up next, ESPN with a roundtable. Our guy AB is involved in it. Kwesi's involved as well. We'll have that for you coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, brought to you by Bally Bet, sports betting partner, your Cleveland Browns. Coming soon to Ohio on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Backed by popular demand from your favorite four-legged companion, it's year 2 of Barking Backers presented by Milkbone, the fan club for dogs. View membership options and join today at barkingbackers.com. This is from ESPN. Kimberly Martin talking with NFL general managers Rand Carthen, Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah, and our guy AB. We obviously know 2 of the 3 of these guys very, very well.
Yes.
Let's have a listen.
So I'm just going to have you guys kind of detail
You're down.
the journey very quickly. Andrew, I'll start with you.
Yeah, so I got my start with the Indianapolis Colts. Spent the first 7 years of my career in Indy. Then transitioned and was the VP of Player Personnel with the Cleveland Browns. And then we took my internship as VP of Football Operations with the Philadelphia Eagles, and then came back here where I'm entering my 4th year as the general manager of the team.
I left college and followed a passion for decision making into Wall Street, where I was a trader in commodities. And then, the 49ers had a great opportunity for me, and I decided to pivot and, started to work in analytics. And that big step that I got to take was because of this man to my right hired me in Cleveland to do a job I didn't know that I was capable of doing. And obviously, the Wolves came calling and gave me a great opportunity in Minnesota as the general manager.
Played 3 years out of college, kind of bounced around, 5 teams in 3 years. Quickly knew what I wanted to do, which was get into personnel. Got hired by the Falcons, worked there for 4 years. When Les Snead was hired with the Rams, he brought me over as director of pro. Worked under Les for 5 years and spent the last 6 under John Lynch and Kyle Shanahan before I got this opportunity with the Titans.
You know what this call's about, right? Man, we're going to turn this card in and make you a Titan officially, man.
I know Cleveland doesn't have the same weather as LA, but you think you want to come back?
We're excited about everything you're going to bring to us. Congratulations, man. It's a big day.
So what were some of the challenges that you encountered on your way here?
I didn't know anything, and I think that intimidates a lot of people. But for me, it was this great opportunity because I walked into a lot of rooms and nobody thought I should know anything. So they were just willing to teach me, and I got the ability to learn from great teachers. Rand, I get to sit in Rand's office and he'd teach me about play level things. So I think I took something that was hard for a lot of people and turned it into a positive.
I wasn't necessarily like a football guy because I believed in data, and I graduated from Harvard, but I also wasn't necessarily like a quote-unquote analytics guy because, quite honestly, I just wasn't as smart as that. So that's why I hired Kwesi, right? And so there was a point, probably many points in my career, where I probably had a little bit of this like insecurity of like, do I really belong in either of these worlds? Ultimately, I overcame and realized that like living in parts of both really probably helped me better as I got later in my career.
I'd say for me, right, just off the fact of you saying former player, I automatically get put in this box, right? So the football guy, if you will, on some people it's a badge, but at other places it's a hindrance. I've always felt like every interview room I had to walk into, I had to show that I was more than just a football guy.
Eric Bieniemy is with the Kansas City Chiefs the last 5 years. They've won 2 Super Bowls. And he has to go somewhere else to become a coordinator. That doesn't even sound right.
I imagine the challenge for black general managers is the assumption that, okay, a black GM is in that spot, so naturally he's going to hire a black head coach. I'll just start with Kwesi. Last year, you guys at the Vikings had an opportunity to hire a head coach. You went with Kevin O'Connell. Why Kevin?
Kevin was an incredible candidate. I'd been so fortunate to be around. I was in that San Francisco building, and I've been around Kyle. So I know what it looks like. What by it means is somebody who's really talented, really competent, and can be a part of a good culture and be a culture leader. But at the end of the day, my job will always be to put the Minnesota Vikings in the best situation. And we found Kevin, and that's the situation we went with, and we're more than thrilled with what we decided.
One of the prevailing thoughts that I hear often is black execs or black coaches always get the reclamation projects. What is your thought on that? I love how you look at Andrew real quick.
My general view on this is that oftentimes the head decision-making jobs in an organization, whether it's a team president, a general manager, or a head coach, are coming open for a reason. But that's why they selected you. That's why they hired you. And you should embrace that opportunity. You should embrace that challenge.
I would just say, why would you want anything different, right? If you're coming into a process that the cupboard's bare, and yes, it may not be the best situation, but if you indeed apply your skill set and you can turn that around, then it's an ode and a testament to what you do versus inheriting a good product that at that point it can only go the other way, and then you're the blame as to why you couldn't keep it here. It's all about getting the opportunity and embracing that challenge and then just trusting and believing in your preparation.
I actually want to read a quote from Sandra Douglas Morgan, who's the NFL's only black woman president. And upon her hiring, she said, "I realized in that moment that this job is much bigger than me. It gives people hope and visibility and optimism that you can strive for it." I'm curious if each of you feels that being black men in these roles, is the job bigger than you, and if so, how?
Oh, absolutely. I go back to reading Jerry Reese's bio at the time with the Giants, and he said it was important for him as an African-American GM to do a good job and lead
30
for those coming behind. In this opportunity, I feel the same way.
It's a burden I would say all of us have sort of felt at different places in our life, being one of the only ones and trying not to mess it up for the next guy and trying to lift people up along with us.
In the moments of reflection, or certainly when you first get the job, you feel it. It doesn't necessarily have to be pervasive or weigh you down, but it also is something where you say, hey, look, I want to make sure that I can be someone who sets an example for others that come after.
You're up.
Be honest with you, I think AB's obviously started a very good legacy here already. He is, as you know him better than I do, but I've gotten to know him pretty well through these years, like the best dude ever. The most selfless dude ever. He takes care of people.
Yeah, and look at now he's going to have Kwesi, and I think someday Glenn Cook will be a GM, and they're hoping that Catherine Raish can become the first female GM in the league. So obviously he's got a tree, and I think having some success this year for the Browns, I think will go a long way towards that tree, being able to really spread its roots. But he's also amazing in the sense that they showed a picture of him from when he was a scout with the Colts. He's like Benjamin Button. He looks like younger now.
He does.
It's crazy. But he's doing a great job. Kwesi's so awesome,
Yeah,
and I really enjoyed knowing him here. And, that's obviously, I think, a CBD Hall of Fame moment when we, were able to interview the general manager of another team on CBD.
Before he left.
Unreal.
The first interview for Kwesi was on our program.
And then
was it planned? Or did he just walk by?
No. It was planned.
Was it planned before?
It was kind of a weird request.
Yes.
It was planned before he was announced, though, right? Or what was the deal, and then he kept it? Or did we ask after he got it?
No, he had already gotten it, but before he left, he wanted to come in.
Because we had asked for him before?
Correct.
Yeah.
And I think in part of that sometimes is just getting some practice on the Q&A part. Because remember, it was one of the big misses during COVID. We never got to know him.
Right, yeah, like he was here, but that's true.
I mean, he didn't really have any availability. Yeah. Like when he got hired, he didn't meet with the media.
That's true.
I mean, we were right in the middle of the full-blown pandemic at that point.
That's a good point.
So there is that, but like don't forget then at the Combine, he's on his way to meet with Minnesota media. He's like, "Hold on. Hop on the headset, Radio Row."
That's right.
With us. Everybody's like, "Wait, what?"
Yeah. That's right. That's great. Yeah. Just easy guys to root for.
Yep.
Yes.
Good dudes who are – Kwesi's in the middle of he's in a tough
spot. He's going
to
go through a rebuild, which is going to be tough, but at the same time they're going to have a mega star in Justin Jefferson. And so you wonder – the weird thing is it just doesn't feel like the right time to be rebuilding in the NFC when you've got Justin Jefferson
he's dealing with
and a
right?
quarterback and they've got Hawkinson and they got Madison, who I think will be a very good running back for the Vikings with Dalvin Cook on. It's a strange place to be in, though. Was Zadarius Smith out and people inquiring about Danielle Hunter? I don't know. I don't know how that's ultimately going to play out because it's not like Cousins is that old.
No, but I think it's probably like what I said when we,
he's like right. He can be very good and very productive.
He's like
but do you feel like he's better Andy Dalton?
That's it, better Andy Dalton.
Yeah, but do you really want to keep paying him?
No, and that's obviously the thing.
He's taken you as far as he can take you. It's not enough. You've had these rosters that have been, knocking on the door for 15 years, it feels like, and they, so I'm sure there is. I'm sure that I know that that's the plan, but that's tough.
Yep.
They to me are a candidate for, if some, I don't know, are they a candidate for Kyler?
They could be.
Are they a team that would flip? If you're Arizona, they're not going to keep him. They're going to look for a buyer.
I think
You're
you
going to be able
want
to
him
get
in
him
a
on
dome.
a discount. He's going to be at a dome.
Yep.
You got Jefferson.
Yep.
Really bright coach there.
I think everything should be centered around keeping Jefferson happy. What does Jefferson want?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, but like
he probably would be into that because Kyler's shown that he knows how to feed the ball to a guy like a DeAndre Hopkins or when he's got a number one receiver to get him the ball.
No, to me they seem to be like they're ready for they're the team that's ready for like a quick reset.
Yeah.
Because they have a knot of pieces, but it's just hard to get quarterbacks don't hit the market. But Kyler is going to be on the market, and if you believe in his skill set, which the skill set's pretty good, if you believe in the skill set, then
it's not even just this, you got to believe in his ability to live the life he must live to maximize his skill set.
Yes, yeah, and
Kwesi doesn't feel like a guy who's got time for shenanigans.
Well, I wouldn't think so.
No,
but they're also the type of team that feels because it's hard for me to imagine. They're not. The problem for them is there's a lot of teams in the NFC that are this. It's a combination of two things. One, the NFC's bad, so it's going to be really hard to tank in the NFC. And two, their roster's too good to be at the bottom.
They're too good to be bad and too bad to be good.
It's Nowheresville, man.
That's right.
Washington's like that. There's a lot of teams in the NFC that are like that are in that spot. So, it feels like unless you're Arizona where you are ready and locked into it,
they're gonna end up drafting the quarterback and Marvin Harrison Jr.
Well, I think you're right. I think it's a very good chance they're going to pick first and third in this thing, which would be crazy, or 1 and 4. I mean, they're probably get them both, which is pretty wild.
Yeah.
All right, we'll do top 25 players under 25 coming up next. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. now because we may run out of time at the end.
Good.
So I'm reading I picked up this book on the way to Charleston last week, Pappyland. So it's the Wright Thompson. If you know Wright Thompson from ESPN, he does those long-form video essays that he does for like the golf stuff, like the Masters and that.
Yeah.
He was their long-form writer for a long time at ESPN, the magazine. One of my favorite writers. He wrote this book, Pappyland, with Julian Van Winkle about
your boy.
Yeah, my guy. About the really like what this guy did to save that bourbon. And he really, it was, I mean, his dad had lost the distillery, Stitzel Weller, and eventually like he was holding on to like literally like barrels of the elixir that eventually became, they salvaged it. He keep putting out barrels. He was buying whiskey from people and aging them in his barrels, bought them from Wild Turkey, all these other things. Eventually gets to a point where he can sell them to, he sells to Buffalo Trace, and the rest is history. Now it's been what it's been. He talks about the big win at the spirit competition and all that stuff that made people understand what it was all about.
Yeah.
Long story short, it's officially endorsed, and the way that Pappy Van Winkle,
Which
Julian's
is his
grandfather.
Yep.
And then his dad, and then he preferred to drink their bourbon, and in a sense, most bourbon is on the rocks with a twist. So I'd never ever done that. I'd never heard of it. There's a great excerpt in the book where they talk about
a twist of lemon,
lime,
or lime,
lemon.
That's what I thought. Okay.
So they tell a great excerpt in the book. They're at like this 5-star restaurant in New York, and it's Preston, who's Julian's son, and Preston, Julian, his son Preston, and then a couple of other people. And Preston goes to the bar and he orders Pappy Van Winkle 20-year with a twist. And the bartender's like, I'm sorry, I can't do that. I can't put it on rocks. I'm not going to put a twist of lemon in it. I don't think we can't do that with this whiskey. Like it's too good.
Like I am that whiskey.
And he goes, well, that guy likes it that way. The guy on the label liked it that way, and I like it that way. And exposed to them. And it was like it's hard to blame the bartender.
No, he's trying to protect you, like somebody who's probably like
you're about to spend a lot of money on this.
You're about to spend a lot of money on it. You're going to spritz it with a lemon, right? So the bartender has a laugh about it, which gets into that other conversation about like how pretentious all of this can be. It's a lot of it's nonsensical. And
it's amazing though that they would want it. So a twist, right, is just like a portion of the peel, a thin shave of the peel that's twisted.
That's it. It's the essence of lemon.
Yep.
So it's rocks as opposed to a big rock. It's rocks, twist of lemon.
Wow.
So it floored me. Because I'd never had it that way.
I ever heard anybody order a drink with a twist was my dad. Every now and then when he would go out would get a Rob Roy up with a twist.
So a Rob Roy is Scotch, vermouth.
Yes.
Awfulness.
It's gross.
It's
bad.
It's
very gross.
Yeah, because the Scotch doesn't blend to the vermouth.
No.
Rob.
I'm pretty sure that's what it is. I think it's like a Manhattan, but it's with Scotch instead of bourbon or rye.
I think you're right.
I mean, I'm saying it relatively emphatically with a decent history of knowing whiskey, but I think that's what it is.
So did you try it, or is this tonight, first Friday?
No.
Whiskey and vermouth. Yeah.
So I nailed it. Yeah. So we were in Charleston. We were eating at Husk on Friday.
You're reading the book.
And so we were down there. So I was at Husk, which is they usually have Pappy. Now I have it, so I'm not going to order it and pay $200 for a drink of it. But they had Blanton's, and it was only like $18 a pour for Blanton's,
which
is great. So I'm like, I tell you what, in homage, give me a Blanton's on the rocks with a twist. So it came out, and I have to say, it was quite refreshing. I'm not saying I would do it all the time, but I was shocked at it. Kind of tasted a little bit like a cold iced tea.
I'll say like an Arnold Palmer, which is
like
not
a
why.
Sweeter
But
iced
that's
tea.
not what you drink bourbon for.
But if you're in Kentucky, maybe you do.
Maybe
because
you do.
it's for the summer too, right?
Yeah.
I
so
guess.
I was floored. I really was. I'd never had it that way. I'd never seen anybody order it that way. But I guess the way that they prefer theirs is, and all of it really, is that way.
I've had fun watching on Instagram Will Clark, the Thrill Clark.
Yeah.
Wow.
Former Giants great.
Yeah, does like a podcast with Eric Burns, who played for the A's and I think
Yeah.
played for the Giants,
Jeez,
and
that's
who's
a lot
a
of
little bit of a
characters.
nut. Yeah. and it's the two of them together. And Will Clark, I feel like for the most part, is either on, he calls it the Frenchman Jacques Daniel or Coors Light, and he has all of that. But they were talking about whiskey, and he goes, when the sun goes down, pour the brown. And he's like, well, I was in Alaska, and the sun never went down, so I had to bust it out early. But I was laughing at that. But it's funny to me that it sounds like, to me, what they're saying and what that bartender obviously thought is like, okay, we're going to pull out, like a French first growth from 1995, and we're going to like put something in it.
Yeah.
Which,
I think that's probably
which
what it
sounds
would be.
absurd to people.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's interesting because in my mind, by the way, it's Scotch. You were right. So Scotch, basically 2 parts Scotch, 1 part sweet vermouth, and then a dash of Angostura bitters.
So that's just it's a Scotch Manhattan.
Scotch Manhattan.
What it is.
Yep. Yeah, gross.
But also, I could see Pedro liking that just because it's named Rob Roy.
Probably.
And he
likes
likes ordering,
Rob Roy.
and he loves Rob Roy, and he's the Irish patriot. So I could see how
he's
he
the
loved him.
Irish Braveheart.
Liam
Neeson plays him, I believe.
Yeah, that's with a Tim Roth and a very, very squirmy villainous role,
which is perfect for him.
It
would just be like, in my mind, and I understand, like with an old fashioned, you get into a little orange, you get into this, that. In my mind, lemon. And then what I like out of bourbon, this is just my take, I like caramel and vanilla, butterscotch even, out of a bourbon. Lemon doesn't operate in that world to me.
No, it doesn't. To me, it was an entirely different drink. It ceased to taste, because what you like it is what I like, and which is, they make an old fashioned or a Manhattan. It's all kind of in the same world of, like I do the black walnut bitters old fashions a lot is like one of my go-tos, or I'll make a maple old fashioned, but that's always in that caramely sweets after dinner nightcap feel.
Nutty.
Yeah. Whereas this, in combination with the rocks, honestly, it was almost like an iced tea is what it felt like a lighter iced tea. And I got to tell you, it was. Now I just ordered the one. I just did it once, but it was pretty refreshing.
So that sounds like something that you would, if you were going to be so bold as to experiment with. Yeah, it sounds like a perfect thing to do with the Weller Reserve, the
perfect,
the green Weller.
Well, when you used to be able to get it.
Well, now you can't get it anymore, right?
I think you could do it. I think I would just say
But if I was going to pour something, that I want to just taste that.
Yeah. But this, obviously they're not hoarding because they have all of it.
Right.
So they're not worried about it not getting another bottle.
Which to me would be wild to go pay a 5-star restaurant price for something that you had.
Probably, but also because of the Buffalo Trace deal, they're not worried about money anymore. One less thing, and also it would be pretty cool to walk into a bar and order the bottle with your grandpa's face on it.
Yeah,
and say, I believe I'll have that one.
I'll have that.
Oh, you're gonna have the Van Winkle 20, and then some guy starts telling you about actually I'm the one that okayed every drop in that.
Yeah.
Because they still do that, too. They still okay every drop that goes into every bottle of it. By the way, they're pissed off that nobody can get it either. And they have no say in the allocation. None. They don't get a say, more bottles, nothing.
It's turned into a total the whole thing's a total racket.
It's a total racket for sure.
Yeah.
But anyway, so if you're on a warm night, give it a shot with your everyday bourbon. With the rocks and a twist.
How can you not have a say in how your product gets distributed or who gets it?
Oh, dude. Because it's all state liquor boards. And they all choose to run it differently. Here we run it like a lottery now. Everything's a lottery.
But you know what? I'm not going to distribute in your state.
Well, and some people do that. But also, it's not just him. Now he's under Buffalo Trace. They bottle and distribute his whiskey. So it's not like he's – and by the way, Buffalo Trace, whatever they're paying them ain't enough. Because that association with Van Winkle elevated everything. Other bourbon in their world to the point where they're all scarce, and they all used to be ones you could get on any shelf. So they've benefited from that tenfold, whatever they're paying.
I just don't like this whole nonsense that you can't get all. It should all be available.
Blame S. Those are the guys. Guys like S doing what they're doing.
Yeah,
those are the guys to blame.
Known litterer.
Known litterer. Witnessed.
Yeah,
allegedly.
No. Witness.
No, witness.
Witness.
You want to go back down this road again?
Yeah.
Yes, because
Do
everything
you want to
that
go back
followed
down?
that he was saying
Do you
was
want to go
happening
back
was-
down this road?
None of it happened.
None of it happened.
None of it happened. It was
We had to
nonsensical.
go back on the air and talk about a great human he is
No,
and
it
all
was
this
all-
stuff.
That was all tongue in cheek.
It was all nonsense. Yeah. So much more to come. Cleveland Browns Daily 850 ESPN Cleveland. You golfing tonight, Gibby? You going to give it a go in this?
I think so.
Z? Dr. Z?
I think I'm going to limit myself to 9.
A niner?
Just a quick little niner. Yeah, just a little
That's
taste.
all I play on Wednesday anyway.
Oh, yeah.
I got a busy golf schedule coming up.
You got some matches?
Yeah, I got Friday. Then Sunday morning I have a match with Simze, who's battling his thumb injury.
You versus Simze?
No, we're a team.
Versus? Don't know.
Don't know him.
Is this in some sort of
in a club tournament?
In a club tournament. I like it. Very good.
Yeah.
Do you have when's your Sleepy Hollow thing?
That happened. We came in second.
Oh, it's interesting. We didn't hear about it.
No, we did. I did. I talked about it.
No,
yes, I did.
I must have been on vacation. I don't recall.
You were on vacation, and I talked about it. It was right when I got back from Mexico. I talked about it. You know why? I talked about it we didn't have a show Monday.
Correct.
Because it was Memorial Day. And then I just said I drained like a long putt on last hole. We lost by 1, but they were going to ban us had we won it 3 straight. So we came in. We've got podium finish again. Came in second. Nothing wrong with that.
On the podium.
We'll be back. Bones was happier that obviously we wanted to win. We should have. But he was happier that we're back, that we get to continue to participate.
Again. Next level's next. We're back tomorrow.
Elite event.
Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.